He dialed the phone using a pencil as blood poured from the stumps where his arms should have been. You see, they had been ripped off after his shirt got caught in a machine. But he walked 100 yards to his house and opened the door with his mouth. Then he used a pencil to dial 911. Once help arrived, they found his arms, and doctors were able to reattach the bones, veins, and skin while he was in a coma. He spent weeks in recovery and eventually regained use of both arms. He died. If you pulled a fish out of the ocean and dropped it into a pond, it would quickly die. That's because without salt, they absorb too much water, making their organs swell. But if a bull shark is plopped into a lake, they start peeing like crazy, up to 20 times more than normal, to flush out the excess water they're absorbing. At the same time, a special gland in their butt works overtime to hold on to salt, preserving the delicate balance in their blood that most fish would lose, meaning you could find a bull shark swimming in any body of water. A meteor headed straight for a small house, where a woman inside was napping on her couch. The rock smashed into a wooden radio, bouncing off and slamming into her side. The meteorite was the size of a grapefruit, and she became the first and only person to be hit by one and survive. But her landlady claimed the rock belonged to her because she owned the house. So she sued the woman, and she had to pay $500 just to keep the rock that hit her. But the endless stress from media attention wrecked her life, so she eventually gave it away to a museum. If you shot a bullet at a fly, would it be fast enough to move out of the way? Well, this is what we actually look like to a fly. To them, we move in super slow motion. This is because flies process what they see over 4 times faster than humans and can fly away in about 20 milliseconds. But a bullet moves at over 800 miles per hour, faster than a jet. And by the time the fly registers the bullet's movement, it would have already traveled over 20 feet, meaning it will get hit before it can react.
Oh no, this frozen lake.
He crawled into a hole in the wall after escaping prison and found himself inside a Toys R Us. Over the next 6 months, he built a home there, stealing from the store to decorate his home. He lived off baby food and kids' snacks, and exercised by riding a bike around the store at night. Eventually, he set up baby monitors to keep track of employees and even changed their work schedules, all so he could rob the store at gunpoint. But after police caught up with him, he was put back in prison. He crawled into a hole in the He grips the bow firmly between his toes, pointing his feet toward the target. He then picks up the arrow using his other foot and hooks it into a small metal clasp. Slowly, he leans back, pulling the string and lining up the shot. Then he releases the arrow by triggering the clasp with his jaw, sending it straight into the bullseye. And this precision is what earned him an Olympic medal. He grips a wire inside her pacemaker suddenly came loose, stopping the blood from pumping. She collapsed unconscious on the floor. Now, when her husband grabbed her by the ankles to move her, she suddenly woke up. You see, being upside down somehow reconnected the wire to her heart. But when she stood upright, it disconnected again. So to keep her alive until they could do surgery, her husband had to hold her upside down for over an hour. A wire inside her pacemaker suddenly came loose, stopping the blood from pumping. She collapsed unconscious. If you clap both ears, your cupped hands create a pressure wave that slams into your eardrums from both sides. This compresses the delicate hair cells inside. Now, these hairs convert sound into electric signals. Once they're damaged, they don't grow back. And if the pressure is strong enough, it can even rupture your eardrums, causing hearing loss and leaving you constantly dizzy.
Okay, so
She locked her son inside the chicken coop when he was just a baby, and over the next 7 years, he was raised by the birds. He learned to move like them and make strange bird-like sounds instead of talking. And because he only ate chicken food, he didn't get enough vitamins, causing his bones to warp and bend. Even after he was rescued, he moved around like a chicken, and though he eventually learned English, his body never fully recovered. They would poop through a wooden plank with a hole cut in it, right above the crashing waves. And whatever dropped went straight through the hole and into the sea. It was past the very front of the ship, so the wind would carry the smell away from the crew. But there weren't walls or railings, meaning in rough seas, a single wave could easily knock you overboard. They would poop. The attacker fired the gun, aiming directly at the man. But at the same time, he put his bag up to cover his face. And instead of piercing his skull, the bullet hit the bag and flew straight into the iPad inside. It lodged itself in the metal, leaving the man unharmed. And he managed to tackle the gunman to the ground, holding him there until the police arrived. The bull charged right at him, but just as it was about to strike, he hit a button, and the bull suddenly stopped. You see, the scientist had implanted tiny wires in its skull, and pressing the button sent electricity into its brain. This controlled the signals sent into the bull's body, causing it to stop mid-charge. But when people heard about the experiment, they panicked. They were terrified he would use the technology to control their minds, which put an end to the scientist's research. She was kidnapped and held hostage for 7 days, and her kidnappers planned to force her into marriage. But as the girl cried, a pack of lions suddenly appeared. The kidnappers were terrified, running from the scene and leaving their victim behind. But instead of harming her, the lions spent the next 12 hours guarding the girl. When police and her family finally got there, they found the girl shaken but alive, and the lions calmly walked back into the forest.
She lost both her parents.
80 feet below Manhattan, more than 6,000 tons of gold sit locked inside a vault. And this is worth over $500 billion. Most of it arrived from foreign countries who wanted to keep their gold safe after World War II. When a new deposit enters, it's logged, weighed, and stored in its own padlocked compartment. Then it's sealed behind a 9-foot-tall cylinder with a 140-ton steel frame around it. Cameras and motion sensors monitor the vault, and police patrol the entire system, making it one of the most secure places on Earth. 80 feet.